This is question number 12 of homework 11. Many of the resources devoted to the January 2009 U.S. stimulus package encouraged investment in research and the development of new technologies. Assume this policy results in positive technological change for the U.S. economy and takes hold at the time when the economy has been restored to a position of long-run equilibrium as depicted by point 1, right here, point 1 in the figure to the right. So this is a positive technological change, and the positive technological change will shift the long-run aggregate supply curve to the right. So if you go to our lessons for this week's, it's week 10. So click my PowerPoint lecture slides, which basically gives you a summary of the major content in this chapter. This is chapter 23 from the book. So we talk about long-run aggregate supply, and yes, the factors that shift the long-run aggregate supply curve, which is capital, labor, technology, natural rate of unemployment. So here this question is about the technology. So it's a positive shock, hence the long-run aggregate supply curve will shift to the right. So and the initial equilibrium is the short run and long run are the same, right? The point 1. So one, using the line drawing tool, shift the long run aggregate supply curve in the appropriate direction. Label your curve LRAS2. So obviously here, as we just talked about, we just need to shift this. We can just pop this out. This is kind of very small, so why don't I enlarge this? And I think now if I, yeah, this is a bit smaller, so it looks like, but I guess I can work on it. So I use a line drawing tool, which is here, line drawing tool, and one cool thing about my lab is that you don't have to be very precise, especially when you deal with the graph. So this is I guess this is wrong. So I need to move the long run aggregate supply, not the short run. So I need to move here. So yes, this is the label. This is the long-run aggregate supply. So that's the safe, and so that's the first part. And the second part is using the line drawing tool, shift one of the remaining curves such that the new short-run equilibrium is achieved. That is not also a long-run equilibrium. So the long-run equilibrium, the new long-run equilibrium is the intersection of the aggregate demand curve and the new long-run aggregate supply curve. So that means this point here is the new long-run aggregate long-run equilibrium. So compare the initial equilibrium point 1 with this point, we see that the output now, the current output actually is lower than the potential level. So we talk about in class that when that happens, the short run equilibrium actually will move. Gradually they will shift. They will shift until what? Until the new new output will be the same as this new non-run equilibrium output level. So because only then there will not be any output gap. Because when there is output gap, then there is a pressure on the inflation. So that will keep changing the supply, the short-run supply curve. So this question, the second part of this question is basically talking about some intermediate equilibrium, short-run equilibrium, because if right now the output is lower than the potential, so there's a slack. It's like there's a snag. It's like a recession, right? It's a snag in the economy. So that snag will put a downward pressure on the price and hence on the inflation. So that downward pressure will shift this AS1, AS curve, the short run aggregate supply curve, downward. So shift downward. So let me draw that. We can actually draw right here. So it's the new, this is the new aggregate supply curve. So the new equilibrium, this is still the short run, right? It's the intersection of the AD1 and the new AS2, but both are short run. So this equilibrium is also the short run. So using the point drawing tool, identify the new short run equilibrium. So that basically means it's this point. This is the point, and the label, this is the point 2. But as we said, actually the economy will not stop here, because here the output is still lower than the potential, right? The potential is right here. So the output is still lower. That means it will continue to shift downward, the AS curve. But the question is only asking us shift one of the remaining curves such that a new short-run equilibrium is achieved that is not also a long-run equilibrium. So this basically meets that requirement. Otherwise, if we just draw a chart here, even though, yeah, if the AS curve shift here, yes, it will stop. The economy, the movement of the economy will stop, but that doesn't meet this requirement. Basically, this is asking us the some intermediate equilibrium. It's not a long-run equilibrium yet. So now let me, I think that's it for this question. So now let me check whether I got it right. Yes, excellent.